pan sauce. What's going on, guys? Adam here. This channel's purpose is to talk about all things cooking and food. I like to cook. I like to show you what I cook. I like to talk about cooking, get real nerdy about it. If that's something you're into, please consider subscribing. Anywho, today we are going to be making a simple pan sauce. We are going to keep two techniques in mind while doing so: deglazing and reduction or reducing. Okay, to deglaze, first you need to cook something in a pan, right? So you're gonna cook a protein, steak, chicken, whatever have you, and they're gonna kind of elicit those crispy bits at the bottom, or the like any sort of vegetables like onions, garlic. What you're gonna do is pour in a liquid and scrape off the bottom. The liquid's going to help evaporate all the brown bits off the bottom. You're gonna be able to harness the flavor power of those brown crispy bits, also known as fond. Today we are going to be deglazing with red wine. It's important when you're deglazing with a wine to use a wine with low tannins. According to my trusty food lover's companion, a tannin is an astringent substance found in the seeds and stems of grapes, the bark of some trees, and tea. Tannin is important in the making of good red wines, aiding them in long and graceful aging. When the wines are young, the tannin often gives them a noticeable astringency, a quality that diminishes as the wine ages, mellows, and develops character. A wine with low tannins is going to sort of disallow you from having that astringency or bitterness. And some people say, you cook with a wine that you'd like to drink, but at the end of the day, I'd totally drink boxed wine if it was the right circumstance. Don't judge me. Comment below what kind of wine you like to cook with or what kind of wine you like to drink in general. I'd love to know. Don't worry about the alcohol content of the wine. It burns off in the cooking process, so you're not gonna get drunk making the sauce, unfortunately. Another important tip is to dab off the excess fat before you do anything, add any aromatics or try to reduce anything. You don't want a broken, nasty, fatty, oily sauce. The second technique to talk about is reduction. Reduction is simply using heat to evaporate and reduce liquids down to concentrate their flavors. Alright, one more thing. Homemade stock is king, but I understand that a lot of people don't have homemade stock on deck. It's generally something that's done in professional kitchens on a large scale at a much easier level, just because you can make so much of it, because it does take a while. Anyways, you can use store-bought stock when reducing and making your sauces. Just understand that homemade stock tastes way better, but importantly too, homemade stock has way more collagen than store-bought. So what that means is that as things reduce, the collagen concentrates as well, and the collagen actually acts as a thickener in a sauce. So it's like a hydrocolloid, like a cornstarch or something like that. To combat this, you can use store-bought stock and hack the system by adding a little powdered gelatin into your stock to thicken things up. So what I do is I'll take 1 teaspoon of powdered gelatin to 1 cup of store-bought stock. I will bloom the gelatin in cold store-bought stock and pour it in either warmed up stock or directly in the pan. That's just one way to do it. I recommend using homemade stock if you have it. If not, you can totally just skip this whole gelatin process. Just understand that it will allow your stock to thicken up and kind of have more of that delicious, stick to your mouthfeel. So, yeah. All right, let's get things moving. We're going to be using 1 New York strip, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 small shallot diced, 2 tablespoons of fresh herbs. I'm using parsley and tarragon, very French. 2 garlic cloves. Dry red wine. Remember what I said about the tannins. And some demi-glace. You could also sub for beef stock. Homemade is preferable. And just some neutral oil. I use grapeseed. And of course you can't forget the coarse kosher salt. And of course lemon. I like to slice mine like this so that no seeds get involved and I can just kind of garnish really easily. Alright, flame on. Medium high. Gonna pop my cast iron on there, wait until it gets nice and hot. Gonna add a little bit of my cooking oil to the pan just to help my seasoned steak cook along. Always flip the steak away from you to avoid oil splatters. Let that cook through, flip it. Let it cook through to a medium rare. Cooking steaks for another video. Maybe we'll do that in the future. I'm gonna pop that steak off. And remember, dab that fat away. You do not want that nastiness in your sauce. Or at least that much of it. In go the shallots. In goes the garlic. Once caramelized and lightly seasoned, we are going to deglaze with our red wine. Get ready for a facial. Yeah, note to self, move the camera farther next time. Anyways, we're gonna let that reduce by about half, and then we're gonna add our demi-glace or beef stock, whichever you prefer. We're gonna let that reduce down. You can turn the heat up. You're not gonna burn anything. You're just trying to let it reduce to the consistency you like. Look at that beautiful color. Almost done. And once you're finished and you're at the reduced consistency you'd like, add in a couple pads of butter, give it a swirl, incorporate it in there. This is your time to add any fresh herbs you'd like as well. Again, this is parsley and tarragon. Just gonna give that a bit of a whisk with my spoon and taste. How's that seasoning? Could use a little acid. Let's put a little lemon in there. Again, I like to cut my lemons without the seeds like that. Just makes it a little easier on me. You're not gonna drop a seed in there. Give that another swirl. And that's looking beautiful. It's okay if your stock's a little thin right out of the pan. It'll start to thicken up once things cool down. Alright, so now I'm just cutting my steak across the grain to make it more tender. Transfer it over to a plate and drizzle. Oof. Beautiful. And that is a steak with pan sauce, ladies and gerbs. Alright guys, I hope you are ready to reduce and deglaze your own sauces after that video and it was helpful. That recipe is an awesome one to practice the techniques. So if you like what you saw, please consider subscribing. Check me out on Instagram and give this video a like. Until next time, thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Peace.